15 years ago, if you would have told me that I would be married with 5 kids, living in Japan, I would have laughed at you. That's exactly how life is laughing at me right now, because that's exactly what's happened. But life is full of seasons. And seasons, like life in general, are often unexpected or unplanned. I love having a large family, but I also recognize the limitations. For example, I can't go out with my friends every single night if I expect my family to stick around. But I understand the season that I'm in. And in this season, I want to stay with my family. I don't want to go hang out with my friends every night. That's an occasional thing. And we're always going to be in some season of life, whether it's a painful or a difficult season, or whether it's a happy and a joyful season. And every season is beautiful in its own way, even the painful and the difficult ones. So this is the first part of a mini-series I'm going to do on the 5 seasons of life and the additional rare seasons of life that people go through. Let's get started. Please subscribe for more videos like this: money, minimalism, travel. We publish a new video every week. I want to start with a quick parable from an unknown author. 4 seasons of a tree. There was a man who had 4 sons. He wanted his sons to learn not to judge things too quickly, so he sent them each on a quest in turn to go and look at a pear tree that was a great distance away. The first son went in winter, the second in the spring, the third in summer, and the youngest son in the fall. When they had all gone and come back, he called them together to describe what they had seen. The first son said that the tree was ugly, bent, and twisted. The second son said no, it was covered with green buds and full of promise. The third son disagreed. He said it was laden with blossoms that smelled so sweet and looked so beautiful, it was the most graceful thing he had ever seen. The last son disagreed with all of them. He said it was ripe and drooping with fruit, full of life and fulfillment. The man then explained to his sons that they were all right, because they had each seen but only one season in the tree's life. He told them that you cannot judge a tree or a person by only one season, and that the essence of who they are and the pleasure, joy, and love that comes from that life can only be measured at the end, when all the seasons are complete. If you give up when it's winter, you'll miss the promise of your spring, the beauty of your summer, fulfillment of your fall. Don't let the pain of one season destroy the joy of all the rest. Don't judge life by one difficult season. Preserve throughout the difficult patches, and better times are sure to come sometime or later. That's a quick story or a quick parable that kind of sums up this entire idea that we're always going to be in some season of life, and we need to embrace the season that we're in. So plan for your season and you'll be happier and more productive. But if you try to plan for a season that you're not in, as if you are in it, then you're going to be unfulfilled and unhappy. There are all kinds of seasons in life. Of course, some are easier than others, some are happy, some are painful. But it's important that you plan based on the season that you're in. Most people go through the basic seasons of life. What are those? Being single, being married, having children, eventually an empty nest. And there are also seasons that are smaller, but often prove to be more difficult, such as going through a big move, getting out of serious debt, starting a business, changing careers, fostering, adopting, losing a lot of weight, and the list continues. And you may have the even more challenging seasons that people often go through, such as divorce, remarriage, becoming a widow, widower, dealing with a terminal illness in the family, fighting a legal battle, military deployments, depression, having a special needs child, or the unthinkable trauma of losing a child. And this seemingly exhaustive list doesn't even come close to explaining all the seasons that we could go through in life. But once you start planning and adapting yourself to fit the season that you're in, your life will get easier and you will be able to embrace the season. Maybe not entirely every time, but substantially more than you probably do right now. So the first step is to recognize what season you're in and to handle the season that you're in. Once you've accepted that, you have to realize your season has limiting factors, but you also have a way to be super productive and to get the most out of life in that season. The seasons of life are pretty funny because you never realize how much time you have when you're single until you're married. And then you don't realize how much time you have as a young married couple until you have your first kid. And then you don't realize how easy it was to have 1 kid when you have 2, and so on. And that's the nature of life. A parent can tell someone who's single how much time they have and how they should be using their time all day long, but until they actually experience what it's like to have children, they're never going to realize how much time they had before. So for example, as a single person, you may feel like you don't have very much time. Maybe you've filled up all your time on your own. People tell me all the time, I don't know how you do it all with 5 kids and all the stuff that you have going on. And I always say the same thing, you'd do it too if you were in my shoes. As human beings, we always will adapt conquer, overcome. We always have that option. Anytime we face challenges, we either overcome them or we're overcome by them. Life's events and circumstances aren't always our choice, but our response to those circumstances is 100% our choice. The limiting factors of the season you're in determines how you're going to live in that season. The more limiting factors are involved, the more planning is involved. So saying our life is busy and my schedule is full would definitely be an understatement, but we make it work. And how do we make it work? Planning. So we're going to get into the practical way of how to plan and how to get the most out of each season of life you're in. We'll start today with the first season, and then the series will continue with the other seasons. So the first season, season number 1, the season of singleness. If you're single right now, look at your married friends and your friends with kids and realize how much time you do have right now, because you only have to think about yourself, planning wise. You may not feel like you have a lot of time, but you definitely could have a lot of time. This is the perfect season for you to write a book, build a successful career, find your ideal partner for marriage, start a business or a side hustle and go all in, spend time with friends and build relationships, devote yourself to a cause bigger than yourself, missionary work, Peace Corps, military, etc. Ultimately work on yourself, grow, learn, prepare. You have a lot of time right now in the season of singleness to do something big, to do something that takes a lot of time. So use that time wisely. Use the time while you have it and plan and prepare for whenever you're not going to have that time. When you get married, when you have kids, whatever you're doing. Next, we're going to be talking about the season of marriage in the second video, so stay tuned for that. Please subscribe so you can get updates on these videos when we publish them. And check out my book, Intentional Children, if you're interested in raising intentional children. I'll put a link to that below. That is all for today. I will see you next week in part 2.